Okay, so I just started the recording and I am here today with the lovely Suzanne, pediatric nurse, and one of my lead clinicians, as well as LYNNE. And Suzanne has been working with LYNNE very closely for the last few months, and I'm really excited for LYNNE to tell her story and share her progress. So thank you so much for joining us, LYNNE. We really appreciate your vulnerability and letting people know what you've been going through, and how things have been changing for you.
No problem. Happy to be here.
So I always just love to start out. If you could just share a little bit about what things were like for you when they were at their worst before you started working with Suzanne, what your symptoms were like, and just kind of what day-to-day life was like for you.
Um, it was definitely up and down day-to-day life, but I always tell my friends when they say, "Why are you eating like this?" Friends and family, I say, "Well, over the last 9 years, I've had 5 bacterial infections in my gut, for which I've had to take Cipro each time, and then each time you take the strong antibiotics, you're not right afterwards as well. Your stomach certain foods I couldn't eat, um, and would go right through me. Um, I had for years. The first infection I had was in 2014. My son was a year old. I started drinking a shake product, and my stomach hadn't been the same since. So for 2 years, I would have stabbing pains in my stomach at night, um, as well as looking 6 months pregnant with gas. Uh, I mean, literally in tears and pain. And my husband was like, "What's wrong with you? I don't know what's going on with you." And finally, um, right before my 50th birthday, I planned a trip to Mexico and I got sick again. And my husband's like, "This is it. You need to go see a GI." So I did, and they took stool culture. And even before the 24 hours is up, because that's usually how long it takes for a culture to grow. I'm a nurse as well. So I have lots of little tidbits of information that I share as well, like that. Um, the, the culture came back as positive for Aeromonas. Never heard of it. I worked at Johns Hopkins. I worked at Children's Hospital in Denver. Not that I know a lot of microbiology, but never heard of it.
Mhm.
Um, Anyways, so I was put on Cipro, and then was scared to death because I was going to Mexico for my 50th birthday, and I felt like I felt better, and I didn't want to get something else. So I didn't. My GI told me to do a couple of things so I wouldn't get sick, and then I thought I was cured after that, and then I don't remember all the sequence of events, but there'd be times where I was like, "Oh, I'm cured," and then nope, I got the stomach pains again. I got the stabbing pains again. I mean, the bloating again, and certain foods like onions and cauliflower, um, garlic, which I was brought up on from my grandparents who are from Italy that lived right across the street. Couldn't eat any of that stuff that my grandmother made me as a child. And so then last October was probably the fourth time I was at a wedding in Maine, and it was raining hard. And I didn't think about it. People had a filter on the refrigerator that we rented the house from. And I drank that water. And 2 days later, sure enough, the stabbing pains, the diarrhea, the bloating, I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't do this anymore. What is wrong with me? Not anybody else in my family. Nobody else stayed in the house, got sick. So I was supposed to be at a wedding in Virginia, and I was like, "Oh my God." And the PCP, "Let's do a stool culture." I'm like, it doesn't, never comes back. Ever since the first positive test, it never came back. Any of my stool cultures never came back positive.
Mhm.
And then the last draw was in February. I got another one. In October, I took the Cipro, felt better, just, still the same kind of yucky gut feeling. And uh, sometimes sick. And right after February, I got another bug from my neighbor and friend across the highway here, um, we all have wells. My well has a UV filter because I was like, I don't want to get anything. And that was 5 years ago, before even knowing that I had a bad gut. So, anyways, Suzanne and I were chatting about what she was doing with you, and I wasn't even thinking of myself. And she said, "Lynn, you have to start working with Jen. This is not normal. I think you have issues with your gut." And where else you said, Suzanne, you can chime in. And so I started with you guys, and I can eat onions, I can eat cauliflower, I can eat them by the bowls full, garlic, spoonfuls of garlic on everything. And I know my grandmother's dancing in heaven because of all the,
Yeah.
what she used to use on everything. I can finally eat again, back to my ancestry. So it's been amazing. It was a hard journey, but it's been amazing. It was 3 months, and it's not over yet. I know that, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, because for the last year, you're just living in fear, right? Living in fear
Yeah.
of getting sick, living in fear of what to eat, living in fear of how you're going to feel, where to go. That's tough, and it just started progressing and progressing, and you're just getting sick all the time, right? I mean, for any little thing, you were getting sick, but you were
Oh,
doing
that's
a
right.
lot of, yeah, and you were doing a lot of the right things because you ate really well. You exercised. I mean, when you go all in, you go all in, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, she was like, well, how is this going to be different than what I'm already doing?
I'm like,
Because
I'm
I'm
doing it.
eating, yeah, I'm eating organic, I'm exercising, I'm drinking water, all the things. And I said, well, you can do all the things, but if you don't do them the right way, right? And then it's not going to work for you. So we got to get you on a good nutritional and lifestyle plan. We'll do a full comprehensive assessment and we will get to the cause of what's happening, right? And we will get you your plan and we will support you throughout. And that's what we started doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want to add too, and you can share as much or as little about this as you want, but our bodies aren't like compartmentalized. So obviously the thing that was probably most acute in terms of getting these, severe stabbing pains and just feeling sick, if you got exposed to anything at all, like there were also other symptoms as well, right? Like I know that you just didn't feel great in your body overall, in terms of joint issues or other kinds of pains that you were having. And so you started
Yes.
realizing through Suzanne's guidance that actually a lot of these symptoms were connected, that inflammation doesn't just stay in the gut, it goes all over the body.
Mm-hmm. And irritability. When you don't feel good, you get irritable with everybody. So, yeah.
And your brain fog, you had a lot of brain
Oh,
fog.
I can't. I can't even tell you.
And
That's
that was almost one of
probably
the symptoms. Yeah, that was one of the symptoms when
it
one day you were
was.
like, I feel clear. I can think. I can come up with words.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 56 years old, and my father has Alzheimer's, and my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and who knows before them. Um, and my grandfather died in the 70s, right, Suzanne? So it wasn't like the epidemic that it is now. And because I know they were eating good back then. But anyways, long story short, I'm in fear every day that I'm going to get Alzheimer's. And my husband was scared. He said, I thought you were going to call me up someday and say that you didn't know how to get home."
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
anyways, emotional. Um,
That's scary. Yeah,
so,
very scary.
so Jen and Susanna saved my brain because most days, if I can't recall something, it's 5 seconds. Before it was, I would walk up to people that I knew for years and I couldn't remember their names.
Yeah.
So, and I couldn't remember for days. And now and I was very reluctant to eat meat. Um, but once I started with the fats for your brain, I started recalling things in 5 seconds. And it's the most freeing thing ever.
Yeah, that is
Knowing
so
knowing
powerful.
that you could get Alzheimer's someday, and like this is a reason a way not to get it is to feed your brain fat. And for someone who, since I was 25, my dad would ask me to go into the North End and on my way to work and get some veal chops for Christmas dinner. And I'd be like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? And I never touched red meat for years. The most I had eaten in these recent years was burgers, and a steak once a year. And I thought when Jen first told me, or Suzanne said, you need to eat fat, you need to eat animal fat. And I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. And I'm still at the point where I cook a steak and I'm like, don't think about it. It's not an animal. It's something else. It's good food. Because I can't stop doing what I'm doing because of all the positive changes that it's made in my life. So,
Yeah.
and I crave it. I crave lamb. I crave meat. I'm sorry, beef. I go to Whole Foods when they have sales and I get racks of ribs and my family loves it. I get them on sale with the Prime and all that. It's doable. So yeah, that's pretty much how I am right now. And I'll let you ask more questions before I go on
Yeah,
to
no, this
others.
is so great, Lynn. Thank you for sharing all this. I mean, you already kind of got into the next section in terms of like what you feel like has made the biggest difference for you, and it sounds like a big one and something that was really hard for you was like, yeah, you got to eat more meat and you've got to eat fatty meats, right? Because we explained to you how this is the direct fuel for your brain and your
Yep.
immune system as well. And that was hard to wrap your head around at first, but you were willing to give it a try. And I think when you started seeing the benefits, it's one of those things of like, yeah, we can have all the compassion, for other creatures in the world, but at some point we have to choose ourselves, and it sounds like that's really how you're focusing on it now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you're at, you know, the last straw, you do what you got to do for yourself
Yeah.
and your family. It doesn't help your
Yep.
family to be sick all the time, and not
Right.
like Suzanne said, not just GI sick.
Yeah.
What in the fall, my people at work had said, "Well, you've called in 7 times since the beginning of the year, sick with sick symptoms," and I'm like, really, But I was so used to
Yeah.
getting little illnesses, and I fought them pretty good, but not as well as once I started with this. Remember, Suzanne, I had a terrible cold like a kid 4 weeks in. And I was so excited because I started feeling better. Don't think this is going to make you feel better right away because going into ketosis for some people is hell, like it was for me. And I get keto flu really bad. And, but in the 4th week, I was like, oh my God, I feel good. This is awesome. And I
Hmm.
stuck with it. And then all of a sudden the next day I had this horrible cold, like waking me up sneezing in the night. I'm like, I've been had a cold like this since I was a kid. And wasn't I over it in like a day or
Yeah.
two? Like it's
Yes.
gone. Oh my gosh, my immune system is working again. It's
Right.
been
Amazing.
pretty amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing because you can feel the changes. You can actually feel the changes, which is just amazing. And yes, you have ups and downs because this is not easy. And, we're healing very deep inside of you, right? So,
Yeah.
you have that bacterial die off and that lasts for, 12 or 24 hours. But once you push through it and, that's part of the healing process and think of it that way, because this is not only just, nutritional, but a lifestyle change and a mindfulness change, and it all has to work together. And you've done just an amazing job with all of it.
Well, thank you.
You
I don't
have.
know if my family would say I'd done an amazing job. It was tough the first 4 weeks, but I am one of those people that, if someone tells me to do something for my health, I'm all in. And
Yeah.
you know, I don't give in
Mhm.
to, you know, people saying, what are you doing? You're too skinny. People saying, why are you eating like that? You know, you're going to get anorexic. You're this, you're that. I'm like, what do you know nothing about me. You know nothing about what I've gone through for the last 9 years. So
Right.
it's, it's when I tell
Yeah,
my story, they get it a little bit more, but I still feel like, people are on the periphery going, she's crazy. She's absolutely crazy. Like, how could food affect you like this?
Mm.
yeah. What was our motto, Lynn? What's our motto?
Remind me.
Who
We don't
cares, right?
care.
We
We
don't
don't
care.
care. I don't care.
No,
Nope. All I care about is me and my family. So,
that's right.
and it works. So I wouldn't hesitate to do it all over again.
Yeah.
Um, and there are times like today, because at the 3 month mark, we were traveling for a month in a van, and we went to a 95th birthday party, and I thought, oh, I can have one thing. It's strawberry rhubarb, it can't be that bad for you. And I mean, the spread of sugar at this party was crazy, but I was like, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't taste really sugary, I'm going to do it. So I had the strawberry rhubarb pastries, and my gut was so healed that it really, the way that only way that it affected me was feeling my joints like swollen the next day. And I was like, okay, well, maybe I can slowly get back into eating things every once in a while that I know in the past I've not been able to eat or shouldn't have been eating while I was fixing my stomach. But it was doable, and I went right back to everything. And I eat the same things pretty much every day, especially if I'm out and about. I take smoked salmon with me, um, and I mayonnaise and like all the stuff that I would never put on my food ever. Salt. I was stayed away from salt for 25 years, 26 years, I think. And now it's the pink Himalayan salt on everything. The saltier, the better. I used to read labels that said, low sodium, see what the sodium was, work out 5 hours a day when I was 25, just to, boost the metabolism, feel better, have energy. And, your body changes over the years. You can't do that crap. A, you have to work. And then B, you just can't do that. And now it's just, every time I go for the salt, it's the same thing as the meat. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You can do this. You're supposed to eat this, and it makes you feel better. So that's what I do. I prepare to have the right foods with me or at my house or wherever I am, and I stick to it. It's just the way my brain is, to just do pretty much the same foods every day.
Mhm.
And
I
I
love,
learned,
yeah.
go ahead.
I
I
was just
learned
gonna
that.
say, some people really overcomplicate these things, and
Mm.
a lot of times people will ask me for all these recipes and things like that, and I'm happy to do that. I mean, there's no problem, but I do find that the people who heal the most tend to be the people who really simplify it, and they just find the same kind of basic nourishing foods that they're happy with eating every day. And then, if they go off track once in a while, it's usually not the end of the world once you've been that consistent for a long period of time. So yeah, I love that approach. And like you said, like the proof of it is in the pudding, so to speak, right? Like you are feeling
Mhm.
so much better by making these changes. And when you go off plan, yeah, it's not the end of the world. You're not going to catastrophize about it, but you do feel the inflammation in your body, right?
Right.
And so it just encourages you to, at least most of the time, really stick with what's working.
Hmm. Yep. And it's definitely, I mean, I'm at the point where I don't sit there and look at my list of foods that I'm supposed to be eating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll just text Suzanne and say, can I have this? And we tried today with bananas, and I made banana pancakes for my son because we're going to start working with Jen and Suzanne on my son with ADD, terrible ADD, stifling for him. And I made him banana pancakes, which is eggs and bananas, vanilla, no sugar, you didn't need it. And then I was, like I say, it went right through me. And I was sick, and my stomach had the pains again today. And I was like, what did I do to myself? And I just went to bed. And And now I'm better, but now I know, okay, can't do that again because we don't want to go down that spiral again and start eating things that make you go to bed and make your stomach feel so bad that you feel like you need to go to sleep and
Yeah.
just wake up different. So,
Yeah. And sometimes there are just those kind of random foods, like I was just telling you earlier, like interesting, like bananas. That's not one that I usually see cause problems for people, but everyone's different. And sometimes people will just have their little problem foods that it's like, they just have trouble reintroducing. But usually, when we do this kind of healing, those kind of foods are really few and far between, But then they just kind of know, like, yeah, I just don't really tend to do well with this thing, for whatever reason, and it gives you a very clear, acute response, and then you can just avoid it. And maybe we'll try again in the future, but it's
yeah.
good to just have that knowledge of your body, and it's just telling you, like, nope, not this thing right now for whatever reason.
Yep.
Yeah,
Plain and
you
simple.
learn so much about your own health and your own kind of inner workings, your GI system, your nervous system, your mindfulness, you learn so much about yourself through this process, which is amazing, right? I mean, just so
Hmm.
much, you think of it in a different way and a different perspective. And now you're, showing it to your kids and your husband, and it only can help the whole family.
Right. And I was thinking when we were just talking about that, you some people are more aware of how things affect your body. I've always been one of those people, so I think that maybe it was, you know, not easier, but easier to force myself to dive in.
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, my mom will hand me, if I have a headache or something, she'll hand me the generic Advil. And I'm like, the generic Advil does not work for me, Mom. I have to have the regular. Oh, it's the same thing. I'm like, no, it's not the same thing. I know my
Mm.
body. My body doesn't and has always been sensitive to certain things. And what we didn't touch upon was as a child, I had terrible, terrible ear infections and on antibiotics all the time. And so much so that my teeth were ruined from the tetracycline that we all took back then. Those of us that had ear infections in my later life, I went to a naturopath and she told me that I was allergic to dairy, and that's why I had all the ear infections from the inflammation from the dairy. And it's just like um, you just don't realize how much that what you put in your body and done to your body, not on purpose, but you had to do what you had to do as children, how much that affects you for life,
Yeah.
unless you do something about it and you be really open with feeling the things that you're feeling in your body. Don't just blow them off. You have to say, oh, that's weird. I never felt that before, or wow, I don't feel this because I didn't realize I was feeling it, but now that I'm doing anti-inflammatory things for myself, I feel like a different person, mentally and physically. So it all comes together, and
Yeah.
you don't realize. You just have to be really open to it.
Yes. Yes, and stick with it. Like you said, it was a rough
Yeah.
first month, and then it took a while to be able to see those glimmers of like, oh wow, things can really be different. So I'm
Yep.
really proud of you that you stuck with it through that time. I know that can be hard.
Yeah, it was hard, but
Yeah.
worth it. Thank you.
Yes.
I knew I had to do
Yes.
something and stick with something. So well
Well,
worth
did
it.
either of you have any last things that you want to share with people who are watching?
Well,
Mm.
we're still keep on keeping on. We're still gonna, keep going. And, we don't have to be as, strict as we used to be. But we're still, we're gonna still keep up on the healing and the maintenance and the support. And it's key, 3 months Yeah, it doesn't seem like a long time, but it seems like a long time when you're going through it, right? And it took a long time for your body to get the way that it is or was. So it's still gonna take some time, right? And we're still just gonna work towards, health every day as we can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Mm. It's uh it's fun to be able to look forward to eating and not thinking, oh God, open the closet door and go, what am I going to eat? Like right now I'm starving and I can't, I'm thinking of my Cocoa June yogurt and organic raspberries that are down in my freezer and fridge. And, it's like, I know what I'm going to eat because I know what makes me feel good. I'm not going to go to the closet full of carbs and grab something because I'm hungry,
Yep.
because I'm not hungry after I eat the things I'm supposed to eat. Whereas when you're eating the processed carbs that you think are, they're organic, they're good, they're whatever, you're still hungry in less than an hour later and satisfied, being satisfied with eating. And I mean, I used to eat every 2 hours and I don't have to do that. It's probably every 4 hours, at 4 or 5 hours before I get hungry. And being hungry is different now, and never having low blood sugar side effects or symptoms like I had in the past. Like when your blood sugar's low and you know it, and it's fight or flight. It's fight or flight. You're like, get me something to eat and get me something to eat now. Whereas the way that I feel when I'm needing to eat is more chill. It's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm starting to not feel good. I think maybe now, and only now do I realize it. But when I was going through it, I'm like, why do I feel like crap right now? Like, why in the first month? Oh, you don't feel good because you need to eat, and you need to eat the healthy stuff that you were eating. And it's so freeing to not be um, addicted and attached to the 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 sugar
Yeah.
um, cycle. High
Yeah.
blood sugar, low blood sugar, high blood sugar, low blood sugar.
Yes.
So,
Yes. That's so interesting. I hear that a lot where people are like, I had to relearn what it feels like to be hungry, you know?
mm, so true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and such a great example of like how sometimes restriction can actually be freeing, you know? Like yes, you had
Uh,
to give certain things up, but you have gained so much more freedom in that process. I think that's
hmm
really important for people to understand.
Yes. Yeah. Which is understandable. You're doing something for so long, the same way for so long, and you think you're doing it right, for your body because you look healthy, you seem healthy, um, you feel pretty good when you're working out, you're getting this extra energy. And I've always been someone who, since I was at least 25, likes to work out. It helps me, my psyche and all that. But even now, um, what's helping my psyche is not what was helping it back then. Killing
Mhm.
myself working out 5 hours a day,
Yep.
as a 25-year-old to get rid of all the yuck that I brought on in college, eating poorly, gaining weight, whatever. Now it's doing for my body and my mind at the same time, doing, bar classes that don't kill your joints, and realizing that there's stuff out there that you can do to help yourself along this journey, along with the eating the right foods that can help you physically and your psyche, along with the eating right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes me so happy is that you're joyful about eating now, right? And
Yeah.
everybody finds
Yeah.
joy. I mean, that's what we have to look forward to a lot of days is what we're going to eat for dinner, or, and if we're fearful and we know we're just not going to feel good after, I mean, that's never a good thing. Like you never have anything good to look forward to when it comes to food. And then you go through the process and the program, and that's tough. But now I see you being like excited to like make your meal and eat it.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so
And
that's what makes me really happy.
yeah, that just brought up something when I first talked to Jen, she's like, "You're totally malnutrition." And I was like, "Really?" But when I thought about it, I was not eating well, and not even just not eating well, I was not eating because
Mhm.
I was at that point where I was like, "All right, I'm done. I'm done with trying. Eating is not fun. Eating is not good. Eating is it's work.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be sick after." So I would have a rice roller after bar class and a little yogurt or something. And then I don't even know what I would eat. Sometimes I would skip dinner and because I'm like, I don't want to deal.
Yeah.
And and I didn't realize I thought Jen was crazy, you're malnutrition. And then I thought, let me think about this. Like I haven't eaten good veggies for myself. I haven't, I didn't even think about the meat, but I'm like, I really haven't been eating barely anything because of the fear.
Yes.
And now, just like Suzanne said, it's what am I going to eat? And what am I going to buy on sale at Whole Foods in the meat department this week?
Yes, yes. I do that same
So,
thing. I do the scan of the meat counter. What's on sale? Yeah.
yeah. Ooh, ground lamb.
Yeah.
Yay. More fat, the better. But
Yes.
never thought I'd say that. Little Miss,
Yeah.
no
Yeah, it
fat.
makes me so happy. Yeah, it makes me so happy to see you happy now, right? And just,
Mhm.
genuinely okay.
Yeah. Yep. I'm good. A few
Great.
more things to work on, but I'm not changing. No way. Not changing what I do eating wise, you know.
Hmm.
I mean, I'll do whatever you guys say. Like when we have update meetings, and I say, Jen says, "Is there anything you really want to add in?" And I wasn't because I like the routine. But now I'm to the point where I'm like, oh, well, maybe I will ask if I can add some like this in or that in, and it's not going to be restrictive for your entire life, and that
Yes.
goes back to the strawberry rhubarb pastries. I did
Yeah.
it and I survived and I didn't eat them every day for the rest of my life, but oh well, splurge every once in a while and see what happens.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if you had done that before, you probably would have been not feeling well for
Oh,
days or even a week. And
but
now it's
then
like,
would have went for
okay,
me. The sugar.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now you get over things a lot quicker and you bounce back a lot quicker.
Mhm. And something that just sparked me there was, my GI, great guy, amazing doctor, but they don't have the knowledge that somebody that has gone through it like Jen has, or you have with your daughter. And to see, they hear about it, they know the research, they know he would say, you got to have sauerkraut, you got to have prebiotics, you got to have this, you got to have that to fix this overgrowth, and here's this probiotic, and but nothing gets it worked out and fixed like the whole picture, like that you and Jen showed me. I'm like, he was trying to help me, but the picture wasn't there. So if people are out there and like, well, my GI said this, and my GI and didn't tell me this, and didn't tell me to eat meat, and so I'm not going to do it. But don't do that. This People that understand their bodies, like Jen, and are healing people, like Jen, and uh, it's just amazing. Sometimes unfathomable to some of us, um, but they know what they're doing. They've experienced it, and even though it's off the beaten track, it's not, you know, right straight medicine, but it is nutritional medicine. Just don't think that you can't do something different and that it won't work. You know, as a nurse, I see patients all the time right now with autoimmune disease, and Jen heals people. I tell them, I had a patient the other day. I'm like, well, if you can do this, here's this girl's number. Just stuff that comes out of the blue. These people are healthy, and then boom, they can't walk, and they can't talk, and they can't swallow, and luckily we have this, part of our immune system that I don't know where it comes from, but they take it and they make it into this IVIG and they give it to people. But why not, spend your money on getting healthy with food? And that's what the family asked me. So what is all this autoimmune stuff? And after just being through what I've been through, I'm like, it's the food. It's the food that we eat. And if you want to get help, I would look into somebody that can heal people with food, heal autoimmune diseases with food. And it happens. We know that.
That's really powerful, Lynn. And I think,
Yeah.
especially coming from someone who has been trained in the conventional medical sphere, and has all the knowledge and clinical experience you have. I mean, that's a really just powerful statement that you just gave. So I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. We need more of you out there.
Yes, yes.
Changing.
Well, that's, Suzanne's a start, and maybe you
I'm
someday,
coming.
and hopefully others as well. Yes.
I need more education, but I'm coming.
Yes.
I love to help people, and I love to help them in better ways than popping pills.
Yes. Yes. Great. Okay, well, I'm going to wrap this up. We've been talking for a while. I think this conversation is so valuable, though, and I so appreciate how you shared. And gosh, what an inspiration. I just appreciate you so much. And Suzanne, you've just done amazing work with her. So thank you so much. And all right, we'll talk
Thank
again
you
soon.
both.
Stop the
All right,
recording.
bye.
Bye.